FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Financial Survival Network is brought to you today by Orin Resources, a junior exploration company with the appetite of a major. It's hot on the trail of the next globally significant discovery, creating enormous potential upside for you, the shareholder. Orin is one of the most aggressive exploration companies pursuing high-grade, scalable gold and copper deposits and has a premier 7-project portfolio, including its 2 flagships, Committee Bay in the Arctic and Sombrero in Peru. Orin's unparalleled technical team and highly experienced management has a history of success in advancing and monetizing exploration assets. No wonder Orin's been called one of the best in the junior exploration sector. Orin trades on the TSX and the NYSE under AUG. To learn more, go to orinresources.com. That's AURYN resources.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It's 5/22/19. Hope you sold in May and went away. And I was just telling the person you're about to hear from, I made my first major political contribution of 2019. I donated by PayPal $1 to the Comrade de Blasio campaign. Bill de Blasio, New York's least popular mayor ever. And my reason was quite simple. I get private emails that aren't up on the website or anything else, and there's pure comedy. I couldn't write comedy better than this myself. So for $1, I'm going to clue you into all the idiocy that's going on with that so-called campaign. Hey, in the meantime, our good friend Gerald Celente is back with us from trendsjournal.com. And Gerald, it's always a pleasure. So what is going on in the world now?
Well, you know, we just came out with our new Trends Journal. It just hit the press, so to speak. And this is one of our stories is just what you were talking about. It's called A Presidential Reality Show. May the Best Act Win. Now, just read you a couple of paragraphs. There's never been a race to the White House in the United States like the 2020 presidential reality show. Stealing a page from the recent Ukrainian election, and you mentioned this word, this is why I'm reading it, where a comedian who played president on a TV show trounced the U.S.-installed puppet president. In America, a cast of sideshow contestants are lining up to beat out America's #1 reality show champion, President Donald Trump. As we go to press, there are 23 contestants, the latest being New York's Mayor Bill Bullshit de Blasio, another political fraud whose greatest accomplishment is laying claim to the lowest popularity rating of any New York City mayor since polling began. And of the 2 Democrats leading in the polls to win their primary, Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders, both would have been disqualified, as well as the sitting president, according to President Dwight D. Eisenhower, who noted, quote, "No one should ever sit in this office over 70 years old, and I know that."
And he sure did. But really, Trump is kind of the exception to that. Whatever you think about him, any issues have nothing to do with his age, right? I mean, the guy is, for a 72-year-old, he's in pretty remarkable condition, isn't he?
Well, certainly not physically.
Well, hey, he eats his McDonald's.
To me, it's I'm the same age as Trump. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, I've been at this job for 40 years. And of course, I had a previous career before that, nearly 10 years. I began with being the assistant to the Secretary of the New York State Senate and designed and instructed American politics and campaign technology at St. John's University. I mean, I've been around,
Sure.
And chief government affairs specialist of the chemical industry in D.C. during the 70s. Yeah, and when you hit 70, you don't have the energy that you used to have before. You don't have the drive. Something happens, and to keep going at it at this age is something else driving you other than, a natural driven thing. And again, there was another line by by Eisenhower to the effect that anyone seeking the office is either crazy or an egomaniac.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that.
And I believe that as well. So, and I,
That I believe.
yeah. And so anyway, that's part of the New Trends Journal, and of course, a lot more on where the economy's going, and many other issues.
Yeah,
and particularly the wars too, heating up with Venezuela and Iran.
Yeah, I honestly don't think those wars are going to happen, but you got to keep the hawks preoccupied so they don't bother you when you're doing other stuff, right?
I don't know if they're not going to happen. Matter of fact, we're saying that we believe it's already in place to happen in Venezuela.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, the thing is, like in Venezuela, and I don't encourage armed intervention. I think it's just generally an awful idea, and we've lost all these wars that we've gotten into from Vietnam, from Korea on. Maybe you could say we won the first Gulf War, but those people in Venezuela, Gerald, they really are suffering. Like, it's become like Cuba, only worse. What can be done for them? I don't believe it's the U.S.'s fault that they're in this mess.
Well, partially it is. The sanctions that the United States, that's economic warfare.
Yeah.
And the same thing that they've done to Iran. Mm-hmm. It's economic warfare. And and it's been a lot of pressure going on. And, you have the oligarchs down in Venezuela. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of blame to go around. But the reality is, hey, you still can't drink the water in Flint, Michigan.
Yeah. Yeah.
We got an infrastructure here that's third world. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they got their problems. It's none of my business.
Right.
That's the way. And I'm again. I launched Occupy Peace. I believe in the founding fathers. No foreign entanglements. And as you well pointed out, the United States has not won a war since World War II. And now we got another great plan and putting up this clown Juan Guaido. Ladies and gentlemen, I declare myself the president of Venezuela. It's 80% of the people didn't even know who he was.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
So again, this is just more foreign entanglements, and that'll bring no good. And again, as I say, if Venezuela and Iran, Venezuela is sitting on what? The world's largest oil.
That's what they claim.
Yeah, in the world. Mm-hmm. Largest oil reserves in the world. And that's not that they claim it. This is what, that it is claimed in general. And Iran is what? One of the largest oil producers in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. And then there was Iraq, right? And Libya. You think we would have been involved there if their major export was broccoli?
Well, I would say in South America, we'd probably invade them if they defaulted on their debt. Good old gunboat diplomacy, right?
What a wonderful job we did in Honduras. Isn't it great in El Salvador? Oh, you remember what they did to Allende in Chile. I mean, this goes on and on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So again, mind your own business, stay home, fix your own problems. I'm an American, and that's what I'm concerned about.
I'm with you.
If somebody attacks me, I'll attack the attacker. I taught close combat for many
defense. Years. That's what it's supposed to be.
So I'm not a pacifist by any stretch of the imagination.
I know. It's disheartening, but like I said to you before, the situation is hopeless but never serious, right?
Well, it's serious. I think it's getting serious.
Yeah, I know.
I think it's getting very serious in the Middle East because one of the things to watch is that oil prices. And there's again, big economic caveat to this, and that is oil prices now are hovering around the $70 a barrel mark. If war breaks out in the Middle East, if tensions escalate and oil prices go to $100 a barrel, we're going to see a global economic recession.
Oh, sure.
We're going to see equity markets worldwide crash because oil is petrodollar based. Correct. You're seeing the dollar now still maintaining its strength among all the other currencies. As the other currencies get weaker, it costs them more money to buy oil. It's petrodollars. So you take a country like India, 80% of their energy is imported. China, one of the biggest importers of energy in the world. Their yuan is going down. And by the way, not because they're pushing it down naturally, because their economy is slowing down in many different ways.
Correct.
So now it costs them more money to buy oil. And particularly, it will hurt the emerging markets. The more money that goes into the gas tank, the less money that goes into the cash register, whether it's in retail, restaurants, or wherever. So last 5 recessions, Kerry, were
oil-induced
by high oil prices.
Yep, they were oil-induced. I totally agree with you. I'm just not convinced that it's going to happen. But we've done a lot of stupid things in the past, right?
That's right.
So there's no reason
you may be correct,
Yeah.
Well, I'm not saying you're not. I'm saying the way we say it, we're saying the big if.
Yeah.
And the if is, look at all the other wars they got us into. Why not another one?
Yeah. Well, the neocons, whatever you want to call them, never saw a war they didn't love. It's all that.
Yeah, the word neocon to me is not a very good word.
Yeah.
It's too soft. I'd call them crazy bastards.
Yeah, I think that's quite fitting.
Well, I got to be proper now. I got to be proper in this.
This is a family show,
Yeah.
You could say that about de Blasio because he's just the biggest joke on the planet.
No, I mean, I got to be proper. I just can't say crazy bastards anymore. I have to say crazy bitches. Okay. And bastards and bitches aren't dirty words.
Okay. Yeah, they're totally acceptable language and not considered 4-letter words or anything like that. So, hey, but Gerald, so gold, they're keeping it down. They're keeping it down. What is going to set off gold? Is a Middle East imbroglio going to do it, or what?
Yeah. It has to be some kind of a safe haven asset reason, and we haven't seen one. And I've been saying the same thing for 6 years now.
I know
that bottom of gold. We're saying is we said now for the last 4 years, bottom of gold is around $1,200. Yeah. And gold has to break above 1385 to move toward 1450, which is our breakout point, and it hasn't been able to do that.
No,
and I don't think it's so much that they're keeping it down, other than there is no fear of a safe haven asset need right now.
Correct.
Because again, we just saw the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ in June, in April, which isn't ancient history. I mean, it's only 22 days away, hit all-time high.
Yeah.
And all the BS that they're giving us about trade wars, that's baloney. They've been saying that for 3 years. Gold's not moving on trade war fears. It never has, and it won't. Gold will move when they start pumping more cheap money into the system.
Mm-hmm.
When more and more currencies become overly devalued. So, for example, we were talking before about Venezuela. What do they have? Inflation rate of a couple of million or something,
Yeah,
so if you own gold rather than bolivars, would you be in great shape? If you're living in Argentina and you got another year of 50% decline in your peso, would you want to be owning gold?
Mm-hmm.
So that's when we're going to see it. We remember we're in America and we're looking at gold prices based on the dollar. But if you're in other nations, as your economies are going down and your currencies are slumping deeply, you're in great shape by owning gold.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to look at the bigger picture on it. But right now, it's unless there's a wild card event that is going to spur the need for a safe haven asset, we don't see gold prices spiking.
Yeah. All right. Well, hey, so for now, it's going to be more of the same then, right?
Yep. So. And believe me, it's not what I want to see because I'm heavily invested in gold and silver over the years. I bought gold at the right prices, but
same
not
here.
Silver.
Yeah, I bought it less than $10.
Yeah.
Silver, $8, $9 silver.
Yeah. So, of course, I would like to see prices go up, but I say things the way I see them, not the way I want them.
You have to be honest, and it's important because a lot of people have felt misled by gold's behavior, and I don't think that that's really what's happened. But I think there's a lot of things that have gone on in the world that we weren't necessarily expecting, And now, now what is the question? So in the meantime, you have to make a living, and you got to stay out of bankruptcy, right?
Yeah. And making a living and staying out of bankruptcy. And one of our other forecasts in the New Trends Journal is that when we came out with an economic 9/11 forecast back in September 2018, September 19th to be exact, was the day before the S&P 500 hit an all-time high, and they hit an all-time high on September 20th. And following that, the markets began to terribly sink. And we had, markets around the world go into bear territory, which is, down over 20%.
Right.
And that was because the Federal Reserve was going to be very aggressive in raising interest rates. Yeah. After Jerome Powell on January 4th, 2019 announced that the Fed would be, quote, patient in raising interest rates and backtracking on their aggressive stance for 2019, we did a 180-degree turn. And we said there's going to be a Trump bump. And there has been. The markets have gone up again, hit new highs at the end of April. Down a little bit now, but nothing big.
Yeah.
And so we're saying the markets have essentially peaked at this point. They may go up a little bit more, but we don't see a lot of market stimulation. However, we're also saying they're going to lower interest rates because we see the economy slowing down.
Right.
And we also see that we're forecasting that corporate earnings have basically peaked. So this is the presidential reality show. They're going to do everything they can
to keep it going,
win the election. And that means keep interest rates low. So going back to investing, the housing market's going to go up. It's not going to go down, not under these conditions, because the facts are there right in front of us. And again, you don't have to be a genius to figure it out. All you have to do is read the current events forming future trends.
Correct.
I was on your show back in December, talked about how over there in Southern California, real hot real estate market, sales were down 20%.
Yes.
That's because the 30-year home mortgage was around 5%. Now, as we speak, mortgage refinances surge 8% as rates fall. And you know what the rates are now? 4.33.
Yes, I know. They've come way, way down.
So
they were at 5.5 at one point.
So, exactly. So now you're going to even lower them more. We can see a 30-year below 4% by the time the 2020 election comes. Then we go on to and talk about other issues as well, and that is the $250 trillion debt bubble that has been inflated. Enormous amounts of corporate loan obligation, the enormous amounts of borrowing for mergers and acquisitions. Let's go back to interest rates. What if interest rates go up and they have all these loans? Then you have a subprime crisis in a different way.
It's inevitable,
That's
isn't
why
it?
we're saying that they're going to keep interest rates low, and that's going to be positive for the housing markets for short term.
Mm-hmm. Short term, it's looking okay, but one
year
thing,
and a half.
Yeah. One thing, that definitely has had a negative impact on housing rates, on housing prices in these high tax blue states is the new tax law, because you've got a lot of people getting the heck out of Dodge because they just see, they see what's happening, right? They see that.
That was Trump. Trump did that one. That was a stupid one. I don't know why the hell they did that.
Yeah, well, on the one hand, you do have all of these blue states being subsidized effectively by red states. So that's the way they've always looked at it.
Yeah, but, they gave again, according to the Tax Policy Center, 86% of the tax cuts went to the 1%. So, I'm not against that. The other thing, too, why sales are going down is you have, the millennials. There is almost as many millennials as there are baby boomers.
Yeah, that's a scary thought.
And they can't afford a house. That's the fact. You're looking at studies coming out. One just came out by Deloitte, and it goes on to say that the percentage of millennials who believe the economic situation in their countries will improve during the coming years was 45% each in the past 2-year surveys. This year, it plummeted to 26%.
Wow.
Yeah. And then you look at the data coming out, and it's astounding because you're looking at the millennial generation is in worst economic shape
That I
than
saw.
any other generation since, you know when?
Forever, I think.
The Great
The
Depression.
Great Depression, huh?
Yep. I'm not making this stuff up.
I know. I
Here we
saw that
go.
yesterday.
Americans born between 1981 and 1996 have failed to match every other generation of young adults born since the Great Depression. They have less wealth, less property, lower marriage rates, and fewer children.
Less everything. Huh.
So that's what else is hurting housing.
For sure. Yeah. Well, soon they'll just give the houses away for nothing, Gerald, right?
Well, you elect me, I'll give you free education. You get free houses. You get free health care.
Who wouldn't want that?
I'm BS Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. Yeah, what a scammer he is, huh?
Yeah. You buy 2 knishes, you get 1 free.
Yeah. Hey. Well, if they're good knishes, then it's a good deal, right?
Yeah, that's Bernie. Then
They got to be New York.
You see, he got you. He got you.
Yeah. Hey, if they're not Vermont, if they're Vermont knishes, you could give me 5 of them, and I don't want them. But we're New Yorkers, Gerald. We got to get the good Coney Island knishes, right?
Yeah, that's right.
It's amazing that people fall for this BS, but they always fell for it throughout life. Gerald, we're like at a crisis because, spiritually we are still have the same brains, the same minds as cavemen. We just know how to do more stuff. But from a spiritual standpoint, we've regressed, if anything.
I agree with you. And one of our top trends is for 2019 was "Blessed are the geeks," and we went on to say that in the St. James Bible they spelled it wrong. They said, "Blessed are the meek, because they shall inherit the earth."
You're cracking me up here, Gerald.
I mean, look at the people leading us. Zuckerberg. I mean, look at this little piece of garbage. Tim Cook. I mean, these guys. I mean, come on.
So, Gerald,
it's one freak after another.
You've been big at deconstructing. So when we look at Facebook, there was a program, DARPA LifeLog, and its purpose was to log every interaction, financed by DARPA, of course, that a human being has from literally cradle to grave. And on February 4th, 2004, DARPA discontinued that program. Guess what corporation was born on that exact same date? Facebook. Is that a coincidence, or are we
Yeah,
getting
you're right.
scammed
I remember that.
Isn't that remarkable?
Right.
Yeah,
that's right. Yeah, the deep state is in control, and now the censorship. That's another one of our top trends of 2019.
Censorship is out of control.
Censorship 2019.
Oh.
And you look what's going on now with that woman from New Zealand. After that tragedy happened over there, now they've imposed more and more censorship standards throughout Europe and around the world, and it's only going to get much worse.
And you've got that new European copyright law, which is further intended to stifle debate and screw us, right? I mean, isn't that what it's about?
Yeah, and screw us in the worst ways.
Yeah, this is a horrible, horrible thing here that we're living through here, Gerald. And I mean, what do you do? I mean, really, what are your choices? What are your options?
Well, that's part of the magazine. What we do is we give people options and how to, prevail, prepare, and prosper in these times ahead the best way we can. So it's not just reporting; it's giving the information on things to consider and what to do. And it's going to be a tough time.
Yeah.
I mean, it's only going to get much worse. This country's going downhill. But by the way, we also have our forecast for who's going to win the election in 2020 if it was held now.
Yeah.
And what we're finding is that, again, the millennials are very strong behind Bernie Sanders is the punchline.
Yeah.
But the reality is they support him only 2 percentage points more than Biden.
Yeah.
And with Trump in there, there's this thing about Biden, again, I wouldn't vote for Biden. The only way I would vote for Biden is if somebody put a gun to my head.
Yeah. Well, that's next. I hear that's part of his campaign strategy.
And by the way, I didn't vote in the last election for any of the candidates. And I didn't vote for Clinton or Trump. And I don't vote for third-party candidates because that shows that I'm supporting the system because they don't have a shot of winning. Mm-hmm. So I didn't vote in that. I voted in local elections. But anyway, the majority of the people are going to want, after Trump, we believe, stability. unity, and tranquility. And Uncle Joe has that phony way of pulling that off very well. And he's also going to, they're going to go back to the good old days of Obama that were terrible, but people believe they were great. And the big thing, Kerry, to understand is the swing states. And that's what the election is going to depend upon. And there's very little doubt that Biden, if he gets the nomination, would lose Pennsylvania. And that's an important state because Trump won that one. And it's a big one. And so Trump could lose Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Michigan, and that's the end of the election.
Well, there's still some time to go, and there's a lot.
We make that clear.
Yeah.
There's a year and a half left. Anything can happen.
And Biden's checkered past there. This guy. Is,
But again, the people don't look that deep.
Yeah, I know. But we'll see.
The slime, what he's done with his son.
Yeah.
All the deals he got in Ukraine and China, the millions, of course.
No. And,
this Biden never worked a day in his life.
He's a total fake.
Public, what, and just an arrogant, disgusting human being. Again, but I won't vote for any of them. The only one I support is Tulsi Gabbard because of her anti-war positions.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot to be said for that. Well, Gerald, we got to run now, but trendsjournal.com, must reading. Any offers available?
Well, if it's the money back guarantee, it's only $129 a year. We put out a monthly Trends in the News broadcast, 2020 Vision podcast. So you're getting those 5 days a week.
Great.
And we put out trend alerts each week. And there's a money, again, it's only $129. So if you're not happy with it, you get your money back. But we guarantee it's the only magazine in the world where you'll read history before it happens, because the news you're getting now you can't use. It's worthless stuff.
Yeah,
all you have to do is go to the Cartoon News Network, CNN, and see the junk that they put out, or pick up the toilet paper record, the New York Times, that gets off every day bashing Trump. So if you want to see the future, this is history before it happens.
Hey, ditto on that. We really appreciate what you do, Gerald. So go over to trendsjournal.com. Check out our site, financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Email us any questions or comments, kl@kerrylutz.com. Gerald, it is always a pleasure and an honor to speak with you. Good luck, and we'll talk to you again soon.
And good luck to you, and thanks for all that you do, Kerry.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.